Is this episode 7?
I think so. Are we on?
We're on.
Oh.
We're on episode 7, and this one is called.
It's called Building a Business, Not a Hustle.
Not a Hustle. I'm Damian Mel, co-founder and CEO of Modern Wholesale Property Management, and this is.
I'm Mia Mel, president and co-founder of Modern Wholesale Property Management.
You finally were able to get your title down.
I know my title. I just don't say it very often.
I know. I hear you.
I try to say, and plus I have multiple titles, so
yeah.
I never know. Well, it was funny. Well, it's funny because we went to the networking thing last night.
Yeah.
And we all had like 4 different cards. Like
I know.
that all had different titles and company names.
We did. We're like, which card do you want?
Yeah, it was like pick a card, any card. I had, I probably have like 6 at least different business cards.
I know. Well,
right now.
And what do you want a card for? You want a card for the wholesale property management? Do you want one for construction?
Real
what do you
estate,
want?
construction,
exactly.
The store, vacation rentals.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on.
So what did you think of the event last night at Mezcal in Riverside?
Yeah, so if people don't know, we went to a networking event, which is kind of new for us because we don't really network a lot. So it's a new thing that we're starting for ourselves. And
I mean,
great.
You're going to tell them that after we preached in the last episode they need to network.
Well, we're saying that because we're telling ourselves too.
Yeah.
You know, you practice what you preach. So we did talk about it, and we did go on.
Yeah, we did go.
Did go to a networking event. It was pretty interesting. I mean, I would say, again, it was like a club setting.
Yeah,
so me personally, I don't know. I don't think a club setting is the best for networking because it's dark, it's loud, you're drinking a lot.
Well, we had fun. We had fun. Yeah, I mean, it's different.
People were sitting down eating like dinner, so you felt weird.
Yeah.
Talking to them, like interrupting them.
I mean, I'm not going to tag anybody that invited us to this event after you've given that description.
Well, no, that's just how the event was. It is what it is.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a good event, but it was it was a little bit different than what we're used to doing. Obviously, when we do go to networking or when we host one, I know we like to have like a set agenda and actually some educational things. And there were some things there. There were some speakers there. I think it was really wrapped around kind of like the hustle of getting out and selling. I mean, I think the main point of the event was trying to get agents really off their ass and be active. You can't phone everything in. You can't Zoom it in. We have to actually kind of get back to meeting people. So
I think networking is still a work in progress. After COVID, I think that kind of really killed it.
No, and we had some good conversations with some different people, some hard money lenders, a couple of different brokerage firms. And there's some guys that are doing some decent business. There's definitely people in the room that, for a lack of better words, are full of shit. They're look, you got to get past the chest beating. Yeah. You got to get past the chest beating.
That's super annoying.
And everyone tells you they're the greatest or the greatest, and that's awesome if you're doing well. But don't be so prideful of what you're doing that you can't learn new things. Because what happens is when you come in with an attitude that I'm so great, I'm the best.
Braggart.
Well, if you say I'm the best, then basically what you're saying is I can't learn anything from you. And I learned stuff from guys that are just starting, that are doing things that run into situations I haven't run into, and they tell me feedback, and you can learn from from everybody. So don't stop yourself from learning by being above everyone else, I would say.
Yeah. Keep it humble.
Yeah, but there were some cool speakers there, and it was. We'll tag the Alfred in our podcast. He may not talk to us after this.
We're not saying anything bad,
but we'll tag him in it. No, he's got a cool podcast too. I think it's called Spitting Fire. I was listening to it, and he's got a couple of people on there just kind of talking about the sales aspect. He's really into Grant Cardone and the 10X, which is a really cool movement. So I mean, from that aspect, I think it was cool. But I know, like we had kind of talked about it this morning, the whole idea between the hustle versus building a business. Yeah.
So when I was listening, and when you're talking about real estate agents and all of that, and then a lot of the coaches, and it's all about like go, 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 go. Everything's a hustle. Everything's a grind. You know, how many people are going to talk to? How many cards are you going to give out? How many doors are you going to knock on? How many postcards are you going to send? Whatever. And that's definitely necessary in the beginning, you know, when you're young, in the beginning of your career. But, you know, for me now, like that sounds exhausting. Like I've been doing this over 20 years, you know. Yes, when you first start in real estate or do anything, you should, you know, be 1,000% out there. But at this point, I feel like my career should be somewhat established. I don't, you know, want to go knock on doors, you know, honestly. And I don't like, I feel like that's very like in the beginning. And there needs to come a time where like, when is the time where your business can be established and you're not always starting from scratch every month. So that kind of like led me to think about this as a topic because there has to be an end game.
Well, okay, so let's back up. Let's kind of dissect what you're saying here. Well, let's unpack it as we hear people say. So, okay, so the hustle. You don't want to hustle every day for 20 years to get and grind to the next deal, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't, okay, so let's clarify this. It doesn't mean the business doesn't hustle.
No.
It doesn't mean that the hustling is within your business domain, right? It just means that you don't want to hustle, right?
Yeah, and me personally.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think and I kind of know what you're getting to because we already had the conversation was when you start out, you have to hustle, right? You have to get out there. You have to knock on doors. You have to say yes to every opportunity. You don't have the luxury to say no. You're looking for every single opportunity that you can get in order to get a foothold within the industry, right?
Yeah.
But
well, you better be doing that,
correct.
or else you're probably not going to go anywhere.
But the question is where do you transition from that hustle into actually building a business? Because here's kind of how it goes, and we have this conversation all the time with people. If you get up every single day and you knock on doors and you're hustling every single day and it's just you don't have a business, you have a job. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not to say that, you know, people say, oh, I can't believe you're saying that. You know, we're working really hard. You know, that's not what we're saying. What we're defining is the difference between a job and a business, right? And so if you say real estate is my job and you want to be a job, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. You don't want the headache of a business. If you're saying real estate is my business and you're going to use that word, now you have to say, where do I transition from me being the hustler to me being the business operator, the person navigating the ship, right? And I think that's what you're kind of talking about.
Yeah, but also, there's a quote. What is it? It's until you figure out how to make money when you sleep, you'll work till you die.
No, that's very true.
You know, that obviously brings us to like the residual income and all of that. But yeah, it's in most, when we're talking about real estate, I mean, I would say your average real estate agent, doesn't even stay in the business very long. Like they can't sustain down markets. Ooh, I like that noise. They can't sustain down markets. So like, for instance, we're in a down market. There's probably a ton of real estate agents that have already dropped out, whether they've been in the business 1 year, 5 years.
And I think that's apparent too already by the fact that the lack of people who actually show up to events because they just mentally are checking out because they're not doing deals and they're getting discouraged.
Yeah, and I mean, real estate is a commission-only business, so you know, obviously, if you're not doing deals, you're not making money. So in most real estate agents, even if they do last, you know, 10, 20 years, most of them probably never hired an employee.
Correct.
So when you talk about that, doesn't mean your business hustles. You know, a lot of them, unless they have some kind of system going on, they don't have employees that are going to hustle for them.
Correct.
You know?
And I think when you say hustle versus business, this is what comes to mind: McDonald's. Okay, and so if you have never seen the movie, is the movie Ray Kroc? What's it called?
Founders.
The Founder. If you've never seen that movie, really watch the movie. It's an awesome movie. It's a great example of what we're talking about here. The McDonald brothers were hustlers. They hustled day in, day out. They were perfectionists on the fries, the burger.
They were their own employees.
They were their own employees in a hamburger stand in San Bernardino. Ray Kroc, though, was a hustler, but not a hustler like I'm going to get it and grind it every day making burgers. He was a capitalizer. He built a business. That's why they'll say the first McDonald's was in Illinois, when in fact the first McDonald's was in San Bernardino. But the difference is because when Ray Kroc took the business and he basically hijacked the business.
Stole the business.
Well, he stole it because they weren't smart enough to see what was happening. They wanted to hustle and basically door knock and
They were stuck in the weeds.
and they didn't want exactly. They didn't want to step out and let other people do that position while they figured out new things. Ray did the opposite, turned it into what it was, the largest at the time fast food joint in the world. Very profitable. Where the McDonald brothers basically never got past that one restaurant. That really stuck them there. So I think when I hear hustle versus business,
they were also perfectionists to their demise.
Yeah, correct. And so that's kind of what I think about is how do you say, okay, in time, how do I replace myself? And I know there was a lot of talk last night about virtual assistants, and I'm just going to say this. Okay, I did virtual assistants. We did virtual assistants
I had a virtual assistant
over 15 years ago. Honestly, I don't like it. I just don't think it brings value to the business. I know other people are going to disagree, and that's fine. We can have our different opinions on it. But we went as far as actually fly to India, and we actually started a business in India, rented an office, bought computers, and actually staffed it with our own employees in India. It's a very tough thing. And when I hear people talk about virtual assistants and they talk about the things they're doing, I just don't really think the value is there. And I think you end up spending more time focused on that you have virtual assistants and you building your business. Yeah. It's not. I don't think it's a sustainable business model until you get to a level that's really far outreach. When you get to you have 1,000 employees. Okay, now you have an office in the Philippines. Okay, I understand that.
Yeah, but then that's a totally different situation.
But it's you and your wife, or you and 2 other agents, virtual assistants. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan. And again, there may be other agents out there that are doing it. It works for you guys.
Well, when I had one, so we had one like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't remember, and they were just doing a very repetitive job at this time, putting listings on Craigslist, and we would throw we would just all day long post ads on Craigslist.
We dominated Craigslist.
That was the thing you did back then. So we had a virtual assistant, I forgot his name, out of India.
Tushar.
Oh yeah. The thing was though, so I don't know how much people made back then. Maybe, let's just say $15 an hour or whatever. So Tushar probably cost us like $6. It was really cheap, $5-6. But he would literally take twice or more longer to do something than a person here.
That's because I think he had 3 or 4 clients.
Yeah, so like if a person here in 8 hours could post, I don't know, 50 ads on Craigslist for $15 an hour, Tushar literally
took all day.
He posted the same amount. So it didn't end up saving me any money, and literally he was having tea every 5 seconds.
Well, if you're not familiar with India,
they follow the British rule. A lot of breaks.
They follow the British rule, and they do. Thanks, Britain, for bringing cricket, driving on the wrong side of the road, and tea breaks.
So it wasn't worth it. But okay, so people might. So just to clarify, what's the difference between a hustle, versus a business or building a business, and I just want to say that the very first thing I think of is when you're hustling, you're just going, but you're never getting anywhere necessarily. Where, like if you're running and you look back, there's nothing there, as opposed to I build a business, I look back, I have something. There's something of substance there that I can still use and have, and I'm benefiting from.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think
this
that
is real estate related.
Well, but listen, I think that applies to any industry, right? It doesn't matter what you are. Like, let's say for example, you're a contractor. Most contractors are hustling. They're out every day working, but when they're working when they mean working, they mean physically building, right? Mm-hmm. So they're building the house. What they're not doing, what are you not doing when you're not building? You're not developing new relationships. You're not adding people to your team. You're not bringing on expertise. You're not widening the scope of things that you can do and running multiple jobs because you're building a singular. And so I think what we're saying here is hustle versus business is if you're hustling for a deal, that deal is all you're going to get. If you're in business and you're hustling for the business, that's a little bit different. That you're not out for each deal. You're out to build a foundation that's going to produce many, many deals with many people within that organization, to where if I know, like you said, like if you step away or if you go on vacation, do your deals stop? Well, not if you have virtual assistants. No, seriously. But do your deals stop? No. Your deals don't stop in a business. They continue to move forward, and you should be getting, great text messages from around the world that you got new listings.
Poolside.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
Well, like, okay, if you're a real estate agent and you're, a listing agent, if you're lucky, most real estate agents start out being buyer's agents, which really sucks. But so if you're an agent, regardless, I guess, of what you're doing, the hustle is getting that transaction. You're living for the transaction, and you're living transaction to transaction, basically hand to mouth, kind of like the contractor. He does a job and that job's done, and then he hopes there's another one in the pipeline. If not, he has to go find one.
Correct. So he has ups and downs in his job.
There's ups and downs, and usually people don't have a super large bandwidth. So if they're all caught up in this, one transaction where they're going to make X amount of dollars, they're looking for another transaction until that's over. There's so many people like that, like, oh, I'm going to make 30 grand or whatever off this one transaction. They're not searching or door knocking during that time. It's not till it's over. And then they probably take some time off. They probably are lazy for a couple weeks or a month because they have this closing money to live off of. And then they'll start looking around for the next transaction, which that's, not sustainable necessarily.
No, I don't think it is. I think that, and then what happens is if the market shifts underneath you, that's it. That was your last deal, right? And now you're kind of scrambling.
Yeah, you're constantly starting over.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's the question. So, we understand the hustle versus the business. We're not saying don't hustle. We're not saying don't work hard. We're not saying don't put the energy in, but we're saying where you put your energy is what matters to be sustainable. So the question is to you, Mia, how does an agent who says, listen, I'm out there every day, I do door knocking, I do deals, and they do, for the most part, they're making a living, they're making money, but they want more because they recognize that they can't do this every day until they freaking die, right? So how do they transition to the next step? What do you recommend that they do?
Well, what we're recommending is, our thing is we're teaching real estate agents about building a management portfolio.
Correct.
And, one of the reasons we're super passionate about it is because that's pretty much how we started our real estate career. And at the time, we did not even want to do it. We didn't know anything about it. But it has sustained us through all the ups and downs of the market. And at any time, and we've done loans, we've done flips, we've done second trust deeds. We've done a million things. But at the end of the day, the one thing that has stayed and has just sustained and been that stable thing is property management. And, when all the when the listings went away, when, there were no more loans to do, we had property management.
So let's talk about that for a second. So a lot of times agents don't quite understand what we're talking about, right? And so we've obviously been through the refi boom, the housing bust, right? We've been through all the different types, the foreclosure crisis. We've been through all of those issues, right? And so here's what I found fascinating. In the early days, we never worked with homeowners. We never were really homeowners. We were always kind of more geared towards real estate investors. Investors meaning those looking to buy rental property, right? And so I know that we would, on Thursday, the new listings would hit the MLS. We would scrim through the MLS in the morning. We'd find properties that hit the best demographic, the best profiles. We would make a spreadsheet of those, and then we would send that out
This was a long time ago.
Yeah, we'd send that out to our clients and say, hey, you want to make any offers? And they say, yeah, let's make offers. And the number one question was, will you manage the property, right? If we buy it, will you manage it? The investor doesn't want to deal with the tenant. They just want to park their money somewhere. So,
and I just want to tell you, Damien did not want to manage any property.
No, I did not.
In fact, he was like, no. And I was like, yes, we'll do it. Because I never seen anything.
She did say yes like that. So I did not. Because, management's very low income, right? It's very low income. And I'm seeing the big revenue, right? Hey, we're doing deals. I'm doing the loan. I'm doing the transaction. I'm doing construction. And that's one thing
to note. So there's a lot of agents who I think might be doing well, like say we saw last night. So they might think this is like piddly stuff. Like this is just pennies. Why do I care about $100 a month per property when I'm making whatever thousands of dollars? But I feel like that's short-sighted.
Well, that's where I was going with that, right? So we were doing that. We're making good money. The market changes. 08 hits. We had already done a whole bunch of different things, right? But the bottom line is 08 hits. Everything dies. In fact, many of our clients, this is what's crazy, is many of our clients lost their homes to foreclosure. They had renters in them.
Lots.
We're managing them. And so you'd say, okay, wait a minute, is your portfolio shrinking? And it didn't shrink. It actually grew. And here's why. Because the property was still there. And so what happened is we really quickly early on said, okay, wait a minute, the market's changed. What do? Our new clients became Fannie Mae. They became Citibank.
Institutional investors.
Institutional. They became, and so we basically turned around, and now we're all of a sudden we're getting even more properties because the property still exists, the tenants still exist, and what's happening is the actual owner is just changing. And so we picked up those clients. And so now all of a sudden we have a completely different demographic of what our clients are. Mm-hmm. And then we rode that way for a while. But then that changed because what happened is Fannie Mae began to shed all their properties. The institutions, the banks were all top loaded with rental properties on their books. They're not landlords. They don't want these properties, so they shed them. So once again, we have to convert. What do? Next thing you know, our client... We pivot, and our pivot to new Wall Street investors. We had Waypoint Financial, Invitation Homes by BlackRock. We had all these different companies that were Treehouse. They were coming in, and they were buying the homes. And literally, we're taking homes that we're still managing that's been through multiple. In fact,
and we wouldn't have had the opportunity to pivot though if we weren't already doing it.
No, correct.
You can't just start in the middle.
Yeah, we already
game,
had that. Yeah, we already had that. And when they said, "Oh, you're already doing this," boom, and we kind of pivoted. And so then they became our client, right? And so what happens is your client changes, your services don't necessarily change, but who your client is and how you approach your client changes. And ups and downs, the real estate market going through, and then for a long time the real estate market was just kind of stagnant, didn't do anything. COVID hit, it goes through the roof. But bottom line is, all along, it's like a constant heartbeat. Our property management portfolio just basically continued to just be healthy and run across the board. And it's literally stable income to the point where anything we did outside of that, listings, was just almost gravy on top.
No, exactly. But, when I say it's important not to be short-sighted, when the times are good, and it's not even like they're good now, but some people, are doing well, and they're not, they don't have, like they can't even focus on anything besides that. But the market will change, and it'll go up and down, and it's important so even when we were doing tons of listings or selling to the investors sight unseen, we were also doing the loan. I mean, this is when back in 05 or something, 06, you can literally make 10-15 grand on the front end, 20 grand on the back end on one deal, super easy. And these are when even lenders, like wholesale lenders, would barely want to speak to you because they were so busy. Yep. People treated you like crap because everyone was making tons of money. You had to be retarded.
Oh, great. There goes the PC police. Okay.
I forgot I'm not supposed to say that.
You're not supposed to say that. It's retard. Goodness sakes. Jeez.
You have to be dumb, okay, at that time not to make money. Why
are you disenfranchising dumb people?
Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, you remember when you can even get a lender to take your call sometimes.
No, I was just telling the story last night to someone at the event. I told him, there was a time when a lender literally told me, I remember this. She goes, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if I ever talk to you ever again. I'm so busy. It doesn't matter. And I'm pretty sure she delivered us our pizza 6 months later after the company she worked for went out of business, Countrywide or something like that.
Yeah. And then, literally. And then it was great for a couple of years. And then literally everything fell. Everyone went out of business. Everyone got fired. And that was it. And basically, so the rainbow in our story, though, is even though we had that time when we were doing really well, I still didn't ignore the little tiny pennies, made from property management. Because why? Why would I say no to that? And, on our part, I feel like it was a smart move because as soon as everyone was done and no one had any deals, everyone was hitting up our door saying, how do you get into property management?
Yeah.
And there were a few agents who actually did start, I remember, some are still around today, that started their own management companies. Some even stole all of our information and our contracts and our name. So we had a lot of weird things happen, but it doesn't matter how much money you're making.
Well, I remember a long time ago when I was younger, I met somebody who told me, he said something to the effect of, your small customers are the bedrock to which your business is built on. And I didn't quite understand at the time what that meant, but now I understand that. Like your small customers, your small checks, your little bit of money that comes in, but there's a lot of them, literally is the bedrock in which you build your business.
It's like your bread and butter.
It's what pays your bills. It's what keeps your lights on. It what allows you to take risk in other areas. So it's what allows you to focus on those bigger deals, knowing that, hey, I have revenue coming in to pay those bills. And that's really important. And I'll tell you what, when people lose those big deals because all of a sudden there's less and less of them, you know what happens is they start stressing, and then they start wishing that they had that so-called bedrock.
Yeah.
And they don't. And they don't because they didn't want to put the time to invest in it.
So again, I know we said this before, when's the best time to start building a business? You know, it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But the next best time is right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, the time's going to pass whether you do it or not. So,
well, and I think this is what I like to discuss, because this is, even last night I noticed that. So, okay, we have a couple of different, things out there. We have agents who are like, I'm crushing it. And that's great. So here's a couple things I took away from last night that concerns me. They're crushing it because they're on Zillow. Now, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to point this out because I don't think a lot of people think about this. Listen, they'll say, hey, I talked to a guy. They're Zillow Flex. And I believe Zillow Flex is where you don't pay for the lead, but you give Zillow a piece of the transaction. So they don't. So it's a different type of way, and so they can scale with agents and do better, and that's awesome. And I would definitely say, hey, if you're doing that, it works. But I want you to think of this: you have a bunch of guys sitting around a board table at corporate. They're looking at their stock price, and they're saying, hey, listen, we're selling leads for, I don't know, what does Zillow sell leads for? Let's just say they're selling them for
expensive.
Well, let's just say they're $500 a pop. I have no idea what their cost, but let's say they're $500 a pop. And let's say they're doing Zillow Flex, and let's say they're making $1,000 or $2,000 on the Zillow Flex. But they're looking and they're going, listen, we're facilitating all these transactions, but what really is happening is $18,000, $20,000 or more in our market is changing hands in commission. You don't think Zillow's trying to figure out how to get all of that money for them?
Oh, yeah.
So they're slowly creeping into the market. Zillow at some point,
they're trying to become their own.
No, Zillow's going to get rid of you. Zillow's going to get rid of agents.
Plus, they just started this 1% down program, which
correct.
I haven't even looked into.
But Zillow is slowly trying to figure out how do they get the lion's share until they have all of the share of that commission in there. So what the point I'm making is there's nothing wrong in doing Zillow leads. There's nothing wrong in doing Zillow Flex. That's awesome. But what you should be thinking in the back of your mind is this a sustainable business for 5 and 10 years down the road? I personally don't think it is. I think that Zillow will eventually take that from you, because why do they want you making the money? They want it. They're greedy, right? They want to make all the money. So you have that.
Doesn't mean they're greedy.
Well, no, I mean, listen, Wall Street companies are greedy. They want to make as much as they can get, and they're not really interested in the small guy. And so, but you have to be thinking about that. So when you work with them, you have to think about, let me cage that opportunity. Don't let me affect the rest of my business, but let me still build that bedrock, because when this goes away, I still want to be in business. I'm still going to be alive. I need to eat, right?
Yeah.
And so I would just caution people who are doing really good in one singular area. That's awesome, but that area never stays in real estate. It goes up and down.
Yeah.
And so you want to focus on, how do I get some other things going that will help me? And every one of those leads you're using could be a potential, because you don't know if they're going to rent their property they're living in and they don't want to sell because it's a low rate, or they have other properties, or they know somebody with the property. The sphere of influence just off of those leads alone, you're leaving so much money on the table, because you're not thinking about how do I...
Yeah, you're only thinking of them for one purpose.
Yeah, exactly. How do I try to tap into them, use them for referral for other things that I do, and maximize right now? So if you're getting so much volume from Zillow or from another lead source, how do I maximize that? So when that source dries up, and all streams do eventually dry up, I'll have something left over. I'll have that residual left over of the business that I built.
Yeah. And I got to imagine there's more people that you don't get via leads or any way than you do, right?
You mean you close less than you actually,
yeah, so
the ratio is probably...
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
well,
I don't know, if you talk to 100 people, maybe you get one or two, 10,
even
5 listings.
But even if you talk to 50 people and you get, out of 50 people, let's just say you get 10 listing appointments. That's a lot, right? That's still a lot of people you're talking to, and a lot of missed opportunity if you offer other stuff, right?
The listing appointment brings up another.
Ugh.
I know we're almost done. We haven't even. We probably have to continue this one to.
Well, I mean, I think
this
this is definitely one that we could go on for like a long time.
Well, okay. The listing. He brought up listing appointment, and that kind of also, like helped me think of this topic because one of the guys we were talking to were talking about listing appointments. And, I've been a broker forever, been in real estate for 20 years. I have never in my whole life been on a listing appointment. I don't even know what it is really. I just haven't. And that's because I've always had a property management portfolio and we don't do listing appointments. We're talking to the owner all the time anyways. Usually when the tenant moves out, we just simply say, hey, do you want to re-rent or do you want to sell? We give them comps for both, and if they like the sales comps, they just go, yeah, go ahead and send me a listing agreement, and that's literally all we do.
Yeah.
And forever, that's been happening. So,
well, and a lot of our owners too, we've never even really met them. It's been a transactional over the internet and over the phone in terms of getting them signed up.
No, exactly.
And it's easier to do that with property management because they feel less of a threat because it's just, okay, you're just managing, you're not selling my home for me. Then when you build that relationship through the property management, now you're the go-to. Oh, let me call my guy.
That was another point that I had. Trying to start a relationship or talk to someone from the point of let me sell your house or whatever, or even let me help you buy a house. That's so much more competitive and it's more high risk. It's super competitive. Everyone's mom, dad, grandma, uncle, friend is an agent. So you can have a good relationship with someone business-wise, but they're probably going to use their sister or their cousin or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody knows a property manager. So it's such an easier gateway
into
a relationship.
And I can't tell you how many customers that we've had, or I say clients that we've had, that had a family member as an agent, use us for property management, was very adamant, when we sell, we're going to use so-and-so. Okay, that's fine. A couple of years go down the line, so-and-so is not an active agent anymore, and guess who they're calling? And or even if they are an active agent, they see the ups and downs of the intricate part of the property, the laws, this, that, everything that we've navigated through, and they say, you know what? We really would like you to do it because we know that you're gonna take care of it, right? You already you have that relationship, so it's a different sell. It's a totally different sell.
Different. It's totally different, and again, in the beginning, yes, you have to do that hustle, and we hustled all the time. We hustled to start. Actually, when we first got into property management, we were trying to get in with an investment company, this investment networking group as a listing agent, but they already had so many, and literally the guy who ran it was like, well, you can be our property manager.
Yes.
And we had never even managed a property in our whole lives. This was a really long time ago. And we literally just lied, faked it till we made it, and that's kind of how we got into that, which is a whole nother topic in itself. But it just goes to show you a gateway into the industry is maybe the lesser path.
Yeah,
the path that nobody takes.
Yeah, it totally is.
Because everyone's trying to be a listing agent.
Okay, so look, we could obviously have this conversation for hours.
We went off.
What I'd like is, look, if you're in the area, September 7th at our offices in Ontario, we are having an event. Come out, chat with us. We have obviously a point of view. You may say, hey, I don't necessarily agree with your point of view, or have a different spin on it. We want to hear from you. We want to talk to you about it because we understand that we only know what we know, right? You know what you know, and none of us should be above learning. And as long as you're open to learning new things, then you're open to building your business and succeeding in the market. The second that you think that you know it all, you listen to our podcast and you say, these guys are assholes, I don't like them, they don't know anything. Well, let me tell you something. You stop learning. Why would
they ever say that?
Well, I'm telling you, some people have big egos. If you have a big ego, you're going to stop learning. If you stop learning, you know what? Your business is going to die, okay? Businesses have to be adaptable, and if you want to get out of the day-to-day hustle and you want to hustle to build a business, that's the conversation we want to have. That's the conversation we want to help you guys with. So, look, I think it's a good topic, and we can probably continue on it again, in the future, and I know, part two on that. But no, look, I appreciate it. I appreciate Alfred. I was going to say his Instagram is the Alfred Galvin It's his IG. He's a coach,
And he
mentor.
was the promoter of the event last night.
He's a promoter, and
super nice guy.
Super nice guy. And I'm going to tell you what, right now, a tremendous amount of energy.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, it was crazy. He had more energy than both of us combined at our highest point. I loved it. His partner Neil, he does CRM. Alfred does the sales coaching on that. These guys are really good, and I was super excited to meet them, to be invited to their event. And so we appreciate getting out there. And so like I said, if you guys get a chance, look him up on IG and connect with him as well. Connect with us and come out to our event, learn more about what we have, and we'd love to just help you guys and work with you guys and continue networking
Follow
ourselves.
us on Instagram.
Yep, exactly.
What is it?
Exactly. It's modern.wholesale. So IG is modern.wholesale. Excuse me, it's IG. You don't say Instagram. It's IG.
I can say whatever I want.
So anyways, all right, cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Bye.
And look forward to next week.
Yep.
All right, we're out. Hey guys, this is Damien. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble about real estate and property management. Don't forget to check out all our social media and visit our website for wholesale property management. You can find the link in the bio. If you have topics, questions, or crazy situations you want us to talk about, send us a message. See you on the next episode of ModTalk.